Maharal Shiur, Parshas Vayeitzei. This week the Torah Kedosha talks about Yaakov Avinu, the chapter of Yaakov Avinu starting his life independent from his family. Vayeitzei Yaakov Avinu goes to get a wife, ends up getting 4 wives. Baruch Hashem establishing the 12 Shvatim. Yaakov Avinu becomes the Bechir Sheba Avos, as Chazal referred to him, as the one. There are 3 Avos HaKadoshim, but Yaakov Avinu is the one who establishes Klal Yisrael. Bechir means the chosen. The chosen. The Bechir Sheba Avos. Of Yaakov Avinu, steht Yaakov Avinu loy meis. Gemara in Tainus. Yaakov Avinu doesn't die. So he state of Yaakov Avinu. He's zoicha to 2 things which make him unique, different than the other Avos. Number 1, he's zoicha that all of his children are zera kodesh. All of his children are heilige kinderlach. Not like Avram that had a Yishmael, not like Yitzchak who had an Esav. Yaakov Avinu is kol kulei zera kodesh. All of his children. And even though there was disagreements amongst them, and even though there was some sinner, yes indeed there was, but at the end of the day, all of them stood around his bed and said, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, K'mo she'ein belibcha ela echad, kach ein belibenu ela echad. Just like in your heart there's only one, so too in our heart there's only one. They were all loyal to Yaakov, loyal to the Rabbeinu Shalom, and they created these 12 sons were Shiftei Ka. Yaakov is the one who's zoicha to have these type of children. Where does this come from? What was it that Yaakov Avinu, what characteristic trait did Yaakov Avinu had that made him unique? The Avos HaKadoshim, Abram and Yitzchak, they were Malachei Kel. What does Yaakov have, and what schus is there in Yaakov that gives him these 2 things? The Maharal, while he explains in Nesivos, called Nesiv HaYisurim, talking about this, that the Sefer HaNesivos has 32 sections, talking about 32 subjects ranging from Torah, Avodah, Gemilas Chasodim, Nesiv Tzedakah, Nesiv Tshuva, many different Nesiv Tznias, Nesiv Koyach HaYetzer, and one of them is called Nesiv HaYisurim, the path of Yisurim. In this, it's 3 parakim, and there he talks about the Gemara in Brachas, where the Gemara in Brachas says that where HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives Yisurim, he gives Yisurim, sometimes he gives it because we have a chait, and if a person sees that he hasn't done anything wrong, and it doesn't make sense that he's getting these type of Yisurim, sometimes he's allowed to be toilet. It's called Yisurim Shel Ahava. It's Yisurim Shel Ahava. What does that mean? That's what our shir is all about tonight, Eliezer. Yisurim Shel Ahava. Let me quote the Gemara for you. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava v'Sem Rav Chizda, Imroya Adam sheYisurim Bayin Olav. Person sees that he has Yisurim. Things are not going so well for him. Either it's physical Yisurim or other types of Yisurim, but things are not good. Yifashvesh b'maisav. You have to do inventory. Person has to calculate and see, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Maybe I'm doing something wrong. First thing is, you should look into your actions. Pishpesh. Et ungetapt. It means he looked to his things. He looked. He investigated. V'loy motza. Rashi says that he couldn't find anything to connect the dots. No one's saying he's perfect, but still he can't find anything that
anything so bad.
That is correct. I can't find an aveira that I did so bad. I didn't kill somebody. That you should be able to match it up. Exactly.
Not even a gematria of it.
He can't match it up. Yitla b'bittul Torah. Maybe he has a bittul Torah. Why isn't bittul Torah considered an avera? That's already a kanzer shtickle. Oh, shenema asher agev shtasur and come to us l'talamdenu. V'im tola v'loy matzah. And if he that also, he's learning as much as he can. He's got to work. He has to do parnasa. And he learns, and he has chavrusas, and he's doing his fair share, and he knows he's doing as much as he can. And he still can't find out. Why Rebbeinu should give me these yisurim? Biyadua, you have to know, she yisurim shel ahavahen, that they're yisurim of love. Shenem, like it says, ki es asher yoyav Hashem yoichiach. He who Hashem loves, yoichiach, that's the one who he will he'll give toichacha. He's the one who he will reprimand. He's the one who will, in this case, doesn't need to be reprimanded, because in this case he's not doing anything wrong. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu will show through him his ahava through these yisurim. Obviously, a person says, Rebbeinu Shalom, you want to show me you love me? So you're giving me pain and you're giving me yisurim? What's the pshat? Parshas, it doesn't make sense.
He
wants the others had sorrows because Hashem wanted the tefillah, that tzaddikim should daven to him.
Says the Gemara, and these yisurim are called yisurim shel ahava, davka shekiblu ma'ahava, that the person recognizes it and says, Hashem, I know you're doing this to me because you love me. V'zeh yisurim la'ahava. Why? Says the Maharal. First, let me tell you the Yesod, and then we'll see how it connects to Yaakov Avinu. Says the Maharal, as we started talking about this last week a little bit. We made a haschula. But now we're going to elaborate even more. The Maharal says like this: since the sin of Adam Harishon, a person's body, his physical body, is at odds with his neshama. When Adam was originally created, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, go ahead and I'm putting you in Gan Eden. You can hang out there. He's in already a place of bliss. Eat from whatever you want. You don't have to worry about food. No anxiety. There's no necessity to worry about food. You don't have to worry about clothing. You don't have to worry about the weather. You have no daigas in life whatsoever. Just one thing. That tree in the middle of the garden, don't eat from that. You eat from that, then you got sudas. Chava let herself get convinced by the Nachash. Chava ate from it. Chava gave Adam to eat from it. And the Gemara says, Gam Adam, also all the animals, and brought Misa to the world. Says Chazal, what happened to Adam and Chava after eating from the Eitz Hadas, what happened to them was that now the guf exists as an entity separate from the neshama. And we masber it many times, we'll say it again. When Adam and Chava ate from the tree, were they doing what their neshama wanted? The neshama wanted to eat from the Chelek Elokai Mimal wanted to eat from the Eitz Hadas, avada nisht. The Chelek Elokai Mimal, the neshama wants to do what their Rebbeinu Shalom wants. So when they ate from the Eitz Hadas, their guf was acting nicht wie the neshama will. Right, the guf was doing something negative. They were being mafrid. They were separating. But give me like 5 minutes to explain. They were being mafrid their neshama from their guf. Their guf, what you call it, like has a mind of its own. The guf is thinking about what it wants without any cheshbin of what the neshama wants. The guf can becomes a metzius, a reality of doing things, whether it's healthy or not healthy, whether it's good for you both physically, emotionally, mentally. The guf becomes a metzius bifnei atzmai balt. How? Because it's doing what its eigen neshama will nicht, what the neshama doesn't want. As long as the guf is unfortunately healthy, powerful, and aware of its needs, it can forget completely what the neshama wants. And a mensch can leben, a person can live a whole life feeding, pampering, taking care of his guf, and he forgets shochech legamri sheyesh lo neshama. Every mitzvah that a person does in this world, mitzvahs lav lehenois nitna, we paskin. When you put on tefillin, your hand doesn't feel good, but your neshama feels good. Do you feel it? No, your body gets in the way of being able to feel what the neshama feels. When you do a mitzvah in your side, you maybe feel good, your neshama feels good. When a person does an aveira, his neshama feels bad. But the body doesn't necessarily feel good or bad because it's minutak. When chas v'shalom, a person eats something he's not supposed to eat, looks something he's not supposed to look at, does something he's not supposed to do, and his body is enjoying it, his neshama hates it, or he has no idea. You know why? Because after the sin of Adam Harishon, the guf and the neshama are minutak, they're separated. What allows a human being to have a koyach that his neshama should not be second fiddle, should not be namuch? What do? Says the Vayeitzei. It's called Yisurim. When the guf wird zerbrochen, when the guf becomes broken, so then it can't function. Holech lo atam. He doesn't have hanua from this, and then he has a chance to be more ruchniistic. And then he has a chance to get closer to the Eibishter. And then he gets a chance. The Yisurim, what is called Yisurim Shel Ahava? Because the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to have a shaykhis to us, and he loves us, and he knows that our guf is getting in the way. Yisurim are the opportunity for a person to have his body, like they would say, down boy, put the body down a little bit, let the body be not such a groisa baltaiva, let the body have now less urges, less desires, less ritzainas. This way the neshama, which deep down always wants to be with the Bashefer, which always wants to connect, now has an opportunity to do what it wants, because the body's not getting in the way. Es asher Hashem ahoiv yoichiach. Because Hashem loves us, He gives us an opportunity through Yisurim, so that this way He can be mizdabik with us. Says the Gemara. So the purpose of Yisurim is what? To be mizdabik with Hashem. If a person's attitude is ich will es take, I want it, I realize that the Yisurim I'm getting is good for me, then the Yisurim bring dveikus. But if a person is bayit bi Yisurim and says taseli tova, I don't want it, so then it's not accomplishing what it does. It's not Yisurim Shel Ahava. Yisurim Shel Ahava can only work if a person is willing to see them the way the Rabbeinu Shalom wants to give it to him, which is, I'm giving it to you so it breaks the body, so it allows you to be mizdabek. Says the Gemara, what reward is there for a person who's mekabel isurim be'ahava? Says the pasuk, yira zera v'yarech yomim. He'll have a long life, and he'll have good kinderlach. Yira zera. How? Says, now we begin the Maharal. This is all the background. V'oimer davka shekiblon be'ahava. first that paragraph where it says v'amar, you have to accept this ba'ahava. V'zeki yisurim shel avehem lahavi oisoi, to bring him el madrega ha'elyoina. Sheyeh karev el Hashem yizbarach. Kimoi she'amar kol asher HaKadosh Baruch Hu chafetz boi midakoi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, but the guf is getting in the way. So you know what? Let's kvetch the guf, so you won't think about it so much. Setit machvai do, setit machvai dorten, zani lo yachol, I can't eat, I can't this. Chobnish kan tam von essen, I don't have time. So what's that tam? You have a tam from the neshama. Like Eov was boyet. That v'lafichach tzorach sheikabel oisam bi'ahava. Therefore, if a person's getting it, and the purpose is to connect Hashem yes mekabel. Ki im ein mekabel b'ahava, ein loydvekes boy. V'ech yisurim shel ahava. If he doesn't want it, so it's obviously not going to fulfill its choice. V'omar, here we go. She'im yikabel mahava schara yiroi zer v'yarch yavim. Yesh lo adam lehaven aschara zeh mishum mekabel surim. I want you to understand what it's like. What's the schar? Why? Ki elu shnei dvarim heim bayim ayidei hadivik bayizbarach legamri. The closer you are to Hashem, the closer you are to the Mekar HaChaim. The closer Bayisham is Chei HaOilamim. He is the source of life. The more a person is a guf, it says, when you eat from the Eitz Hadas, then you will die. If a person wants to not die, then a person has to not separate himself from his eigen and neshama. He has to be closer to his neshama. That way, it's closer to Bashefer. Ki al yidei dibuk ba yizbarach kasher mixkabel yisurim ba'ahava. When those yisurim are hurting the person's guf, and the person is still saying, I'm okay with it, I'm happy with it, I'm mekabel it. When a person has that attitude, so then the Yisurim become a hechitimtza for him to be mistabek with the Rabbeinu Shalom. V'lekach mekabel min Hashem yizbarach bracha. The Rabbeinu Shalom says, wow, I'm giving you Yisurim. I know it hurts your body. I know you're in pain. And all you're focusing on is one thing that you see, it's Yisurim Shel Ahava. So then you have successfully been oimid in this Nisayan, and you become so connected to me that your body is no longer in the way of our relationship. You've successfully removed your body. Your body that was in, like we explained, because of the Chait of Eitz Hadas, which was mafriya and was mastir and separated ourselves from the kesher to Hashem. And that body is getting Yisurim. And that body is having bayot. And you're saying, it's fine. It's okay. It's worth it. I see that you love me. There's ahavas Hashem in this. Oy bazoi mikabel min Hashem yizborach bracha mimkar ha'elyon v'dovak b'midas Yaakov. And now he's dovuk b'midas Yaakov, which is, Shola, you're with me, shezocha lebanim v'zocha lechayim. Ki Yaakov avinu loy meis, ki ha'yisurim misalkin oisay min ha'pchisos ha'chaymer ad shehu kodesh. The Isurim of Yaakov take away every bit of his guf, and therefore, if there's no guf that gets in the way, Yaakovinu is Pashit connected Mekar HaChaim. Lekach zoiche lezer HaKadosh memekar ha'elyon v'lechayim v'heven zeh. Last week we mentioned there was never a person in the world that even before he put his foot on the planet already had sonim. He already had enemies. Noch bebeten imoy. He was still in his mother's stomach. Avram Avinu had sonim. You know when? When he went and broke Terach's Avodah Zarah, now he made sonim. When Nimrod told him, bow down to me. If you don't bow down to me, I'm going to throw you into the fire. He made Sonim. When he went and fought and told the people of Doraf Haloga, I'm not going with you, he had Sonim. But he wasn't born with Sonim. Yitzchak had Sonim too. Lech mi Yitzonu ki atzam temoid. He wasn't born with Sonim. Aber Yaakov Avinu noch ist da rausgekommen in der Welt. He didn't even come out to the world already. Esav Soines Yaakov. V'chol Yomov. After he's finished with Esav against Lavan. Vayeshav Yaakov. Bikesh leishav b'shalva. The boy Shem tenli kvar. Give me. Nein. Dino. Hat nicht kein ruhiger Leben. He doesn't have a life of calm, not 1 minute. Not 1 minute. And he never, ever is complaining. He's always, this is what the Bashefer wants. Memela, Yaakov Avinu's tzura, his face is chokuk al kisei hakoved. Es asher, we said last week in the Maharal, I'll repeat. HaKadosh Baruch Hu oyev es hanirdoif. He loves the person. Yaakov Avinu haya hanirdof hagadol ba'olam. He was the biggest person that show you rotfim acharav. They were running after him with the magnish gelost leben. You know why, Taka? Because Yaakov Avinu wasn't shaykh to this world. Noch bebeten Yaakov Avinu gesagt, ich will olam haba. So Esav said, beseder, then I'm not going to let you live in this world. And Yaakov Avinu has to carve out his eigen mokim. Vayifka b'mokim. Chazal say Yaakov Avinu is given denaya mokim from Klal Yisrael. If you make the cheshbon in gematria, mokim is gematria 186. Yaakov is gematria 182 plus the 4 letters is 186. We already spoke about, now is not the time to talk about why plus the letters. Yaakov shteit nari HaKodesh, Yaakov is the mokim from Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael, the kinderlach. How is it possible? How is it possible that he is the one to bring down all the Zera Kodesh? The Zera Kodesh means to say, like we spoke at the end of the Zera Shimshon Shir, even if a person is in the sea Hatuma, he's a maximum Tumah, the spark of Kedusha is never extinguished. You know why? Because he's Zera Yaakov. Because Yaakov was so kosher to the Rebbeinu Shalom that he was poshet mevatel the mistake of Adam Harishon. And here's the point, and this is the point I want you to understand. In as much as Adam Harishon separated his body from his neshama by eating from the Eitz Hadas and creating a body outside of the neshama, Yaakov Avinu connected his body that every second he was doing only what his neshama wanted. When Yaakov Avinu wants to have children, Yaakov Avinu says, Hoveli ishti v'avei aleha. Give me my wife, I want to have kinderlach. Frekt Rashi, hare kal shebekal lo medavim kacha. Emfret Rashi kidei lahakim zera. My Rabbi Moshe Shapiro Zechron Baruch asked, is nu of lahakim zera red v'ya mensch? Ata lo mevin. He only wanted lahakim zera. His guf wasn't acting Kemosha Guf. I don't want to speak, I want to say Loshen Nekiyas.
Just to have children, that's it.
Can that in Yiddish, yeah? Who Ohr Chaim HaKadosh says, Hatipa sheyotza meYaakov Avinu, Reish Oini, Hatipa, and the way the body functions when a person gets excited was not by Yaakov Avinu because the body was excited. It's because the neshama gezokt azoy daf mintan. It was als neshama, senisht gevein guf. There was no mitzias of guf by Yaakov Avinu that did anything that the neshama didn't want. Als gevein neshama. That's why Yaakov became mikor hachayim. There was nothing. No, I once heard from Reb Nassan Weiss, even his demyonis, when even his own, he didn't have a fleeting thought. Yaakov Avinu was mechaber, his whole essence. How could you have Right? When he was alive already, the Rebbeinu Shalom said, Elekei Yaakov. Meaning to say that he had so fused himself, his whole goof, with the neshama, that the ganze Welt, this is the side that all the stones became one. It means like the whole Bria hat sich zugestellt to Yaakov Avinu. Why? Because his whole goof hat sich zugestellt to sein neshama, became part and fused into his neshama. Therefore, he was able to bring down the shefa. Who started saying with shefa? He bring down the shefa of kinderlach. He brought down the shefa of Parnosa, he brought the chef of whatever. Malache Elokim Oilim V'Yordim Boy. He became through his Isurim. Right? Ein Molayor. Once a year, we have the Madreg of Yaakov Avinu. When is that? Yom Kippur. Ta'anu es nafshei seichem. The side of Yom Kippur and the side of Seir LaHashem v'Seir LaZozel. We take all our Veiris and we put it on Esav who's Seir. And Yaakov Avinu is Kodesh V'Tahar. Yaakov Avinu is Kodesh V'Tahar. The filter that every Yid could say, any mistake I made, Zelo Ani. It's not me who did it. You know why? Because you could be a Yaakov Avinu. Agan Seyor, we say Shema. We say Shema, Shema Yisrael, and then we say Baruch Shem, but you whisper.
Quiet.
Why? Says the Gemara. When they said it by Yaakov Avinu's bed, they said Shema Yisrael, and Yaakov Avinu said Baruch Shem Kvod Malchusei L'Olam V'Ed, the honor of the Rebbeinu Shem Alamai Kinderlach. He said it out loud. When Moshe Rabbeinu wrote in the Torah in Parshas V'Eschanan, he skipped it because they didn't have that madrega to say it. It wasn't bigol. So what do? Says Chazal. To skip it, Yaakov Avinu said it. To say it out loud, you can't do it because Moshe didn't write it. So we say it quietly. What's the exception to the rule? Yom Kippur. Why? Because Yom Kippur is ta'anu es nafshei seichem. Yisurim shel ahava. It's loihoyu yomim toivim li Yisrael ki yom haKippurim. The Yisurim that a person gets on Yom Kippur, I'm not going to wear the shoes, I'm not going to wash myself, I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to drink, the Chamisha Inuyim. So you're having Yisurim on Yom Kippur, right? You're having Yisurim, Velach Yisurim, because you're going to have Kaporis Avonis, Yisurim Shalahava. Yisurim Shalahava and Madrig of Yaakov Avinu. Zog Baruch Shem Kavod, like Yaakov Avinu. So say it out loud. Makes sure so you can already belt. You can already talk like Yaakov, because it's the once a year that we can. Why? Because we all accept upon ourselves the Chamisha Inuyim. So this idea of Yisurim Shalahava, and then a person is Nizdabek to the Makar HaBuracha, and then a person is given Chaim. He has a Chasima of Chaim, and then it's Nizgala, the Kedushas Yaakov Avinu, because V'tihartem Eschem. And you are Kodesh V'tar because you're his kinderlach. V'liktos, that's Yaakov Avinu. That's called Yisurim Shalava. And every Yid has to know that when the Rebbeinu Shalom gives us Yisurim, and we have Yisurim, who doesn't have Yisurim? If not for those Yisurim, we'd never be able to get close to Hashem. If not for those Yisurim, like the Gemara over there says, you'd never get Olam Haba. Shloisha Dvarim HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Klal Yisrael. Torah, Eretz Yisrael, and Olam Haba. V'kulam loynatnu ela al yidei Yisurim. If a person thinks, I'm going to go through this world, and if Hashem kan Yisurim, then I'm sorry, you're not going to get to Olam Haba. V'estishkign. You can't go to Olam, but the problem is that your goof doesn't want you to go there. So if you think we'll be able to have a Gita Laden and nothing's going to hurt me and I'm not going to have any problems, and I'm going to get done, but it's not going to go. It's not going to go because the only way to get there is Yisurim. But they are shel ahava. Es asher Hashem oihev yoichiach. He only gives it to us because He loves us. He only wants us to be misdabek with Him. And there isn't a Yid in the world that doesn't have Yisurim. Everybody has Yisurim. But to understand that the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't give it to us because He hates us, chas v'shalom, and doesn't give it to us because we're bad. He gives it to us because we're good, and because it's just our goof that gets in the way, and we forget how good we are. These Yisurim are there, lemarek, it makes us sweeter, and makes us understand how Zisayid really is. Das gewinnt der Beginner von Yaakov. Yaakov was he perfected this. Memela says the Maharal, Yaakov loy meis, there was never a part of his guf that was separate from his neshama. There was never a part that was ever boiged in it, and therefore Yaakovinu was zoiche taka to the Zara Chaya B'Kayoma. Okay, Yasher Chaya.